online. Okay, the April meeting of the Board of Water Commissioners is called to order. Reading of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of last month's meeting.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We'll hold off on bills and accounts. Cooper Lake improvements.
All right, so the first thing is, I was in Saratoga last week, everybody knows I moved the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Lake received Project of the Year
Whoa,
from the New York State
Jesus.
AWWA section. So that's our award. I only have 3 copies of a press release from that, if anybody's
it
interested.
only cost us $18 million
Yeah, we got
to
plaque.
get a plaque.
Yeah, it's gonna give that to the Freeman.
I sent it to him
Oh, all right.
on Friday,
Still waiting. huh?
and HB1,
They don't
and
like
Cons
that.
Union,
They don't like it.
so.
They
I
don't
haven't
like
seen
it.
it anywhere, but it's here if anybody's interested. But yeah, so we got from the New York section, one project of the year. That was last Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's a annual water event.
Nice.
There's Judy right there too, right?
Yep.
Matt did a nice technical session.
Yes, I gave a presentation as well.
The presentation was
On this project, our dam project?
On the financing portion.
And then
Okay.
Schnabel opened it up with a little history. You know, the first half hour, so to speak, and it was about the history of what we've done through the years and how far. It was very interesting, you know, he did a nice slide, and then Matt got into the financing. And then the state rock was there, and the state talked about, yeah, this was the first really joint project funded. It was very well received by the audience.
Okay.
It was went very well. And then they, as Matt said, they added out the plaque on project of the year. Very nice.
And we can sell that, huh?
Yeah.
Take a look.
Put a plaque up.
Okay, that's nice.
All right, so that's that.
Yeah,
For the actual project itself, they always planning to remobilize later this week. So they gotta do some concrete work that they couldn't do before because it was too cold, survey stuff, check the grass. The fence has to be installed. Which takes me to. I have a no-cost change order number 16 from Dale. This is just basically changes to the fence that I had moved. It was supposed to be installed closer to the building instead of out by the road. So when they were there to install it, I asked them to have it moved out to the road. So it doesn't change anything in cost. It's just basically showing that we're asking the work to be done. So change order number 16.
and do we have that in our packet or?
It was not in the packet. I didn't have it yet.
So we need a
Yes.
motion to accept change order number 16 from Dale.
Oh, shit. They like the cost change.
Yes.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I know we've been talking about the screen chamber and a potential cost for that. So there was one, it was almost prepared, but then they were looking at the weight of the structure. And they're not sure if the structure can be too heavy for the slab that's there, so they're looking into alternatives, in terms of buildings that don't weigh quite as much. So I'm hoping, I know the next meeting is close, it's only, 3 weeks out, because it's a week late. So hopefully I have numbers then.
And who's doing that work?
It would be Dale if the number is acceptable. So.
Okay,
But I'd like, first I want to see the costs. We can see.
no, but who's putting together the specs for what needs to be done, Dale or?
Yeah, so Dale's proposing there's different vendors, like. Whoever, one did the tower up top, and then the other one did the meter chamber, so we're trying to. Ideally, one like the meter chamber would be the way to go, but they're having trouble getting numbers from those people, so.
There's nothing we need engineering for?
Other than the fact that they're they don't think the slab might be for the heavy duty concrete building that was proposed originally. Schnabel wasn't sure about the weight, so we're looking at the thickness of the slab and the supports.
Well, I guess that's, my question is who's making that
Not
determination?
trouble looking at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Dale's proposing it, so, and that was why I don't have it here
Mhm.
yet, because it
Okay.
was submitted and I was unsure about the structural integrity of the screen chamber, so we're revising and coming back, so hopefully at the May meeting, I have one. And the other one is the amendment to Schnabel, which we had talked about in November, December. So hopefully this gets us through the construction
So
phase.
this is the same one we were talking about back then. This is not another one in addition.
It is, yeah, it's an addition. So this was in November. They thought this was through the winter, or that was through what they were doing at that time through the winter, and this will get us through the construction phase, hopefully.
Okay, so
So
they're looking for $69,000 more.
Yes, and that would be funded by the DWFRF loan and the remaining grant.
Oh, that's not part of the Cooper Lake stuff?
That is the Cooper Lake stuff. The DWSRF
Oh, okay.
and the grant, the $3 million grant.
We talked about this, right? But we did.
There was one in November
Well, we approved one back in November
Mhm.
to take them from, they were
through,
through December.
Mhm.
They originally, their contract was to end like
yeah, we're
in the
past
fall.
in July-ish,
Okay.
so we had to extend it. So you can see the different ones. So the October 23 is how it's listed here, but I think we might have done it at the October or November meeting. That was the 66,400 at that point. That's on page 2. And then this is 69 after that.
But, so we don't. On this page, on this,
Yeah, I don't think it's on there yet.
so it shows 66,000 remaining out of their contract, but that just
We haven't
means
been billed for.
we haven't been billed for stuff up until when? So this comes out, this will exceed, obviously, the engineering component of the original proposal. This is 69.
We've increased so the number on here is increased. The change orders for Schnabel actually are on this piece of paper. So you're not seeing them here.
No, okay, so
So that 1565 number for the contract, that includes the one from October 23, which is the remaining 66, because they haven't billed us for their time through March yet.
okay,
So like their January, February, March bill, when that comes, that 66,477 is gonna disappear and go to $0 remaining.
right, and then we have to get another 69,000
Right.
out of
So this would change next month and would say.
out of the top stuff, or where does that come from?
It would come out of, so you don't see the loan and grant on this page either. So there's the $20 million authorization.
Okay, this is basically just what we.
This is the
What
actual
we had
contract in
contracted
place.
for.
So we're authorized for up to 20.
Okay,
And again, so not all this for Dale is gonna be used. So it says 829, but we're not gonna go to 829. Because that's some of the Ashokan work that we're not doing.
so the 1565.4 on their contract is actually. What's that gonna end up being, do you know?
That would increase by 69.
But you have the other one,
It's in there, yeah. So 64 or whatever the October one is, that should be in there. 66,400. You'll see on page 2, it says the total task is 1,634,400,
okay,
and that's with the extra 69. So that number of 1565 is go up by 69.
Yeah. and this will take us through
Should take us through everything.
I mean, is there
For
a
the
date
construction.
thing, or what happens if things keep getting?
At this point, the Dale there's really nothing that should be holding Dale up past that May. The only thing could be potentially the screen chamber, But in terms of engineering, once they approve a building, there's not really.
Well, they don't have to be there to do the on-site construction engineering,
Yeah,
I mean, that's what this all is
I've
anyway.
already talked to them, they're not anticipating additional charges to see the building put in and just to make sure it's installed correctly. It's once the weight is determined to be safe, that's gonna hopefully be done this week or next.
Okay,
Just make sure it includes the as-bills. That's the big nut that's left on the job. As-bills.
oh, okay, yeah. Well, who follows up with them?
I mean, that would have been the original contract.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
make
yeah.
sure. That's the.
Without we receive them.
Yeah. It's the-
Here's the chuck and see you later, and hey,
Contract,
you owe us.
yeah, see you later.
you owe us
Yeah.
the final product.
Yeah, it's very common on jobs, the as-bills are a major problem,
Well,
but you
maybe
need them.
hold back, I mean, we can approve the contract, but hold back final payment or whatever. Until we get the as-bills.
Yeah. Because the as-bills should be done by Dale, but they got to be approved by Shinawa. So, we need them, and I don't know how the contract reads, but we need to know whether it's recorded on CDs or.
Now they're all, I
Yeah.
usually get USB
Yeah.
projects now.
Right, so that's a big nut, that's probably the biggest nut left. Yeah.
What are guys? What are?
The as-bills?
Yeah.
Was, you know, from you have your original construction drawings, right, and it was built that way, but as you know, everything in the field changes.
Mhm.
Pipes went this way, all of a sudden, everything this way. So then those changes have to be recorded,
Okay,
and once it's done, it's called an as-built.
okay,
And that's what an as-built is.
okay.
So you need to go down the road, you know, to do excavations or whatever we do, or.
Mhm.
It's
So you pull out the
Yeah.
design approved plans
Exactly.
and all of a sudden it's like, well, it's not there.
Okay,
Or moved
And
over
it's,
to the
well,
right.
it was moved over 20 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, basically all our change orders on this page
mhm,
were change orders from the original approved plans, and so we just need them to generate a final set of approved plans.
okay, sounds good.
So let's make sure that we follow up on that. So I need a motion to. Is this a change order or just task number 13?
An amendment to.
Amendment
tax
to-
13.
The contract with Schnabel?
Yeah.
That motion?
I'll make it.
Don't want to make that motion? Second?
Mhm.
Any further discussions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. Is that something you signed instead of me?
Yeah, I think they've all been signed by
By
the
you?
engineer myself. If you want to sign one, if it's one of that's one.
Don't necessarily need to, I don't think. Anything else on Super Lake then? DWSP2.
Not much, this, I'm gonna leave it on the agenda just to keep everybody updated, but we had our first meeting in person 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks? I don't know. But DOH came with the 2 reps that are helping us work on this, so ours should be fairly straightforward, because we have a lot of protection for our water already, because we own so much land, and we don't own the city or the state, kind of owns up there as well. But it'll be some education stuff that we're working right now to develop the stakeholder group, and there's going to be monthly, bi-monthly meetings. The next one is the 29th at 10 on Zoom. If anyone's interested, I can send you a link. I've invited the superintendent for the Port Ewan, the town of Sopus Water Department. Town of Ulster will be sending one of their council members, Mary, maybe. And then Riverkeeper has also asked to be a part of it. And we'll just talk about how we're going to continue to protect the water for the city of Kingston going forward.
Okay,
Whether it's updating the rules and regs that are submitted to the state
Yeah.
or
They didn't get back to.
I have them immediately. I have them 10 minutes after the meeting concluded.
Okay,
1963.
Okay,
something like that. It had all the
but
county.
DOH hasn't gotten back to you at all regarding, I asked the question about, well, how does this interface with our rules and regs?
I mean, I sent them the rules and like
Okay.
the watershed protection rules, and they just said this is helpful, so I haven't really had any discussions with them other than who's who in terms of people. And they looked at it briefly, but nothing in terms of that.
Right.
So I mean, I found them, so every county in the state has several water departments that are in there, and they're all updated at different points in time. So there are just 3 of them in Ulster County that have watershed rules. So it's online, so I found the most recent version. But I have a hard copy in my office
Okay.
from 1960s, which ours hasn't changed since then.
Yeah, we have pretty strict watershed rules.
Yeah, but some of them might be irrelevant.
Oh,
So
okay.
updating those might be a part of this process. And
Okay,
they stated during that meeting that they could, potentially fund some of the steps that they come up with, things to be helpful for the department. But
mhm,
that could be part of this program. So one of those things might be updating these for things that make more sense. But
Okay.
hiring consultants on our behalf.
They weren't even aware that we had,
No, yeah, I mean, there
well,
were,
the 2 people that came
and they're
down.
both fairly new,
Yeah,
but so they had to take stuff back to their people as well. But it's something that they're working with Woodstock as well. So there's, ours is simpler than a lot of other departments just because of our situation up there.
oh. I was just gonna text and tell them.
okay.
One more thing though, do everything, it's like, so, what are what, do we have like any threats in additional, like, that we need to address for this? I'm gonna just text him to let him know that I'm at a meeting, so.
I mean, based on like the maps they pull up, so like they have maps from DEC that show like, like bulk storage or petroleum or something like that, and we don't really have anything in the vicinity of Minco,
There were 2
Yeah,
dots on
yeah.
the map,
Yeah,
just 2 dots on the map.
which were slightly past the Beaver Kill anyway, but there's really not much up there.
So, I mean, I'd like to try and figure out that one that's kind of upstream
Yeah.
from. There's really only 1 dot that was above the intake that, showed a bulk petroleum storage permit,
Right.
but.
But we're very well protected, so out of all the ones that they're probably gonna do for this program, we'll probably do the easier ones.
okay,
But again, it was free and it's gonna
yeah,
help
yeah, I
address
remember
storing
you,
at some
yeah,
point,
saying
so.
that was a good thing to do, because it was something proactive.
Yeah, and if we can
Yeah.
get free updates to our watershed rules out of this, that's,
Okay. Okay,
that's also a bonus, so.
I mean, our watershed is pretty much contained within New York City's
mhm,
watershed too,
So the
so,
state has parkland up there.
so.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why, yeah.
that's why we're pretty
protected.
lucky in regards to where we are, so, I mean, they started going over stuff and then they pull up the map and they go, well, yeah, you really don't have anything here that of concern. They were kind of, is that true? I go, yeah, it is, so.
So that's it, I'll just leave it on the agenda, if there's anything
Yeah.
to mention, I'll mention it, otherwise we'll just breeze through it, but. Looks like it'll be maybe a monthly meeting, roughly on Zoom, but if anybody's ever interested in attending, just let me know. And that's all I got for that.
Okay. We done with bills and accounts? A motion
Make a motion.
to accept them, second. Those in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Correspondence next?
We just.
Oh, you got something else?
Yeah, I got something else.
Okay.
So we talked about the NPG grant that we received, the $50,000 for design at Vinnie Water. So I do have a proposal to do some surveying and geotechnical work at Vinnie Water. And it's 3 tasks. It could be piecemeal. So the first task is the survey, and I just got this yesterday, so it was not in your packet, but. So this includes the topographical survey, the bathymetry, and then, the review of it by the engineer. And that's $33,800. That's task 1,
33.
800.
Okay.
And then the other 2 tasks that are included in this are the geotechnical exploration and instrumentation, which is like the borings and test pits and that kind of stuff. That task is $104,000. And then the geotechnical data report is 16.4. And that would be task 3. Which brings us to a total 154,200. So that NPG grant was $50,000 that was awarded back in late February. We think we were notified early March. So 35 projects around the state got some portion of grant between, I think, 25 to 75. were the
It's a
ranges.
grant from E DEC.
I think it was DEC.
I mean, it's for dam
the letter, I
improvement,
think the
right?
letter was DEC letterhead, I believe. Yeah, it's DEC letter. So it's the, yeah, I don't know what NPG stands for, but this is sense. The non-point source planning and MS4 mapping grant. And that turns into NPG. Non-agricultural, non-point source planning. And that becomes, so I guess it's I don't know. NPG grant program, you got $50,000 for Vinnie Water Reservoir Dam design work. So I didn't want it to go to waste, so I'd asked for these, at least for the survey portion, which is 34,000 or 33 and change. So we wanted to do that piece, we could approve task 1 and get the survey done, and the state would pay for that, and we'd have an additional. So it was 50,000 total. They're looking for contracts to be executed within 90 to 120 days, which puts us at the end of June, that we'd have to spend the 50 grand to get the whole 50 grand.
But we can spend 33.8 and get 33.8.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with spending their money, free money.
So that would get us the survey and the bathymetry of the reservoir.
That's the rest of it is.
The test borings and the borings and test pits would not be under the grant. At least most of it wouldn't be.
Right, but the tech report,
I don't think they're gonna be able to do the tech report without the boring.
without the borings, yeah,
That would be
so-
my assumption. So, which would, those two together are about 50, yeah, but without the 104
right,
for the exploration itself, you're not gonna be.
so, I mean,
So-
there's 120. That,
Right, 16 would be grants if we were to do all of it, so the 50 would be grants, so really you're looking at.
$100,000.
Non-funded would be $104,000.
Yeah. I don't know where we have $104,000 to.
The, if we wanted to do the whole thing, and we can talk about this next month as well, it's in the. In the capital account. That's, what's the balance on that, it's 1.2. Not gonna throw it on there in the bank account register, sorry, I think it's like 1.2, 1.3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the other.
You know, that came in our taxes this time, right?
No, the bank accounts itself aren't here, right? It's 1.2 or higher. So again, we could do task 1 now and talk about it again in 3 weeks.
Well, I have no problem doing task 1, because it's basically
Yeah,
free
'cause we
money,
have the money for it.
but, you know. A lot of that capital improvement fund, I'm looking at using some of that to pay down the loans for Cooper Lake Dam. Right?
There's a
Over
small
time.
portion of that we had put aside that's specifically dedicated for that, so we can't use it for anything else. I have to go back and look at notes for how much that was. But since 2019, we've been putting some money aside, and there's actually motions
Right,
stating
but-
that money is for that.
Right, but the capital improvement, a lot of that capital improvement money, that 1.2. Came out of the lawsuit that we didn't necessarily win, but we got for the filter work. The filter repair work where we sued whatever company it was. And so that was put aside for capital improvements. Well, the dam is a capital improvement. I mean, not that we're gonna take $1 million off of the 20 million, but maybe take some of that money each year out to pay part of the loan. But you know, unless you can find other funding sources for everything else, Because you said we're gonna have a big,
We're looking, I mean, the state's got stuff in the works. But, I mean, we can do task one now and we can talk about 104 or the 100 and
do you want
remaining,
a motion now for task one?
unless you want to sit on for 3 weeks and I can send this to, or this will be your packets for next month and you can actually look at the proposal, but it's kind of up to the board.
I have no problem going with
But 30
task one at this
3,300
point
for
in
task
time.
one, and I can send that off tomorrow, and we can get that executed with DECs tomorrow, once it's done.
Yeah, is there any other use for the money?
No, specifically for bidding water dam design.
Well, then I guess it would be then, yeah.
Yeah, let's get, at least get the
Yeah.
starting part of it going and.
Mhm.
So I did an application for the NPG grant, and at the
Yeah,
time,
okay, yeah.
I was like, we're not gonna get this, but
Mhm.
then I got the letter saying that we got it, so
Okay.
I wanted to find a way to use it, and we need to do some survey work up there, so.
Okay.
Take our plaque over to DVC and say,
It should be
see
good.
what's a nice job we
Yeah, right.
did with Cooper Lake Dam, so maybe
We're trendsetters.
give us some more money and we'll get another plaque. So, motion to approve, what's it, task one of the Benny Water Dam,
Task one field survey, $33,800.
using the NPG grant.
Funding.
Okay, is that the motion?
I'll make a
Whoever wants to
motion.
make it, Whoever.
Yeah,
I'll
maybe.
second.
Okay, any other discussion? Those in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Okay, carried.
Another item before we move on to the next
Okay.
correspondence. We talked about the tank inspection last month briefly.
Oh, yeah,
So, there is another RFP out there. There was a site visit today for a voluntary site visit for prospective bidders, and 2 companies did come to that. So, it's due on May 2nd, so hopefully we get some proposals by that next meeting to get those 3 tanks inspected.
yeah. You there? Moving on to correspondence. Guess the correspondence is Safeco.
It is.
I have 2 questions. I'll answer them for me. One is, in your letter back to them, says the department staff were at this location to check the connection of the wire to the read button and to install. You know when they were there?
November or October. I don't have the table with me. It was late
Okay.
last year.
And so I had Jennifer print out their history. And so the 2 previous quarters, that must go back to about before this time, we only had estimated
This
readings.
is why we have to get in there for the wire.
Okay, so the wire was disconnected somehow, or? I mean, because all the previous ones are all actuals,
We
or,
see lots of things with these wires. We were in one a month or so ago where our meter team went and they took a picture and showed me. They had cut the wire from the meter, tied it to a door handle to hold the door to the basement open. So you never know what you're gonna get. It just could be, it could have come loose, somebody could have knocked into it. I mean, somebody could have done work on the outside of the house, and so there's lots of,
but this one had a read.
it has a wire from the meter that runs
To
outside.
the outside button,
And they walk up to it and hit
hit
it,
it.
but they weren't getting a reading when they were.
So
hitting the
for 2 quarters, when they went up and did that,
button. They didn't get a.
they didn't get a reading. So we just sent out an estimated
Right.
bill based
So
upon
we can get it
usage
there.
of kind of a history of what it was, and that was
Yep. And at some point during either of those
22 units.
So somewhere in those months, they had a leaking toilet. Which somebody had called here and talked to one of the office employees, and they stated that in a phone call that there was a toilet that was giving them problems. This letter doesn't reflect that, but it was stated to people in the office that they had issues.
Is there any chance that some of this 172 units could have been related back before we were estimating the amount? Because it could have been,
It could have been during those estimated quarters. Is that what you're asking?
right, because, I mean, the last
I
actual.
looked at that, but it was, so the last actual.
Last actual reading,
So anytime between May 3rd and the next actual reading, which was January, it could have had the leaking toilet or any other kind of leak.
right, because we didn't get an actual
Right, so
reading.
that's why their bills didn't seem any higher. So had we been getting readings during those times,
We could have, it could have been at 40 units.
right, we could have caught it sooner potentially.
You know, they could have had two quarters at 40
Yeah.
some units, which is still a little bit high, but they've had in the past. They had a 48, they had a 78, they had a 46, they had a 49, they had a 43. I mean, there's a lot here that are 19, 21, 22, 23. That was why we build them at 22, the two estimated ones, but I mean, it could have been leaking, not crazy, but it could have been leaking for, yeah, the previous 2 quarters.
A running toilet for 6 months is a lot of water. I mean, a running toilet for 1 day is a lot of water. You get down to the fact that, I mean, how many gallons can go through it? And, I mean, I know they mentioned that, you know, they didn't get their high read card until several days before the bill, but we can't send out high read cards until we know what the readings are. So we send those out a week before the bills go out. And in the event that something is still leaking, we try to give them 7 days notice of you have a problem and you should look. 7 days could save you a lot of units of water. So we do what we can. Obviously, they didn't appreciate the timing of that, but the alternative is we don't send anything at all. So we do that as a courtesy to try to help people that we see. And sometimes people call and like, it's high because I had family over for Christmas. Like, thanks, but we know why the water's higher.
So what do you offer, they're not really satisfied with your answer or whatever? Take the meter and check it out, and if the meter is accurate, you give it back to them and say, hey, we checked it and it's fine.
Well, I gotta pay $150 for that test.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
2 years long.
125.
yeah, I did read it, but I didn't
Okay.
remember the price. I
Yeah.
remember sending the meter.
125.
offering to take the meter
125.
out.
We do that,
120.
but they're not gonna let, I mean, if anything, it's gonna say it's reading at 95% instead of 100% or 91% instead of, so it's under. I mean, they slow down over time, so.
Well, how much was Jeff's bill? That seemed to be a lot higher. I would have been.
Yeah, they could.
They didn't know that was, I guess, an option probably. They were trying,
And again, I mean, this said that when he was there was no issue,
Yeah.
but it doesn't state that during those
Seven-
7 months
Yeah.
prior. there was an
750.
issue.
it's at 744.98.
I mean, that was also, they had a faucet installed, so that bill is not just.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it
It
was
was other work done as well.
laboratory force cut $452.
Very nice.
Got out of the business too early.
I know, I gotta get back in there.
Yeah.
Get the money.
Okay, so, I don't know if there's a motion we need, or we're just,
We don't
nothing,
usually,
right?
right,
Just
just if anybody has any changes.
for our information that he's got a proposed,
Otherwise, I'll send a letter out tomorrow.
yeah.
Is there any benefit to, I didn't just mention that it was done in October.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe add that,
Maybe to reference that, just in case they come back and say, well, you know, you're at, you know. permit
and it
stamp
wouldn't hurt
that,
maybe even to say the
so
previous
then
ones were estimated.
I can add
Just
that.
to put a time frame on it.
and just
Maybe-
mention if they were estimated.
You know, the 2
Yeah,
previous quarters
because
were
the rest
estimated, so this
of
could have been ongoing
Yes.
all the way back to whatever
Yep.
date. You know, this,
Yeah, just trying to cut off any questions of the past there.
yeah,
So-
I mean, the same questions we had.
Was ever a result of why the wire was it cut or they?
I don't
Loose.
know.
Okay, it's just-
I mean, our meter team remember being there. I looked at the work order. There's no notes stating like exactly what happened, just that they replaced, they put a radio, they installed a radio when they were there and they fixed the wire. So there's nothing out of the ordinary about the
Yes,
work order.
like in that whole sentence there, you can kind of say that, you know, the department staff was at this location in
Yep.
October of 2023 to
Yep.
check the connection of the wire. to the read button and to install radio read equipment. Because, the
We were-
2 previous quarters were estimated because,
And they were estimated conservatively also,
yeah, they
Yeah.
were estimated at,
because and I think that's another thing to kind of mention, because it was. They had 48 units in what you estimated at 22 units? or
22 was the bill, the estimated bill, the
something?
last 2 previous quarters. I mean, theoretically, it's what? 216.
Was that you?
No.
I don't think I have one of those.
I don't know.
206.
Yeah, yeah, I can have those things, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of
They got it.
might answer some additional questions. Okay, anybody else, any other questions on that issue?
It's probably.
It seems fair, what can you do?
Yeah.
I mean, you get elderly people in single household have bigger bills than this, unfortunate, but it happens sometimes if you don't catch it,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, they could say, well, you knew it wasn't working, why didn't you come in and check? And yeah, did we your estimate? You could say, well, hey, the wire was off for this reason, we didn't know. The guy cut it, trying to save money.
I mean, we do the best we can to keep it, I mean, we 8,000 accounts, we do the best we can to get actual reads on all, but. We try to read everyone every quarter, but they don't always work every
Well, when
quarter.
they got the first bill and saw it with the estimate, they could say, okay, what happened here? You're not reading, it. I'm gonna go down and check it. So he's got some responsibility.
I'll make those adjustments and we'll send it out tomorrow.
okay. Superintendent's report. Any questions? A lot of rain in March, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah, April,
In April so far too, right?
5.5 already, I think, when I was there, I
Really?
was looking at it this morning. That was all last, there was one day last week, I think, it all happened, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that big storm just before the weekend, last week.
Yeah, I forget the day, I think it was recently, I want to say it was last week.
Wednesday into Thursday, Thursday into Friday, someplace like that.
Might have been Thursday morning, I think I drove back in it from Saratoga.
Some downhill.
So we're supposed to get more tonight, right?
Tomorrow, or, I mean, it rained
tonight.
tomorrow, you guys were coming in, I
Tomorrow.
think it started.
Hope it gets done by noontime.
Golf league?
Golf league.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
huh?
Oh, man.
Okay, motion to accept the superintendent's report,
Motion.
second? Those in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else?
Well, yeah.
That's all you got? Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
I think Mike was ready to make that motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.